everybody, welcome back to another video. Hope you guys been enjoying the content on the channel as of late. Just getting out of work, going to pick up my brother, so kind of in a busy mode. So I want to do this video real quick because and I do mean quick because I only have so much time. In regards to one of the films that we just talked about, which is Blade Runner, which, if you've seen my review, you guys would know, I think is just a classic. I'm sorry, I got distracted with the construction. I thought it was something to do with my car for some reason. I don't know what the hell happened, but Blade Runner, I think, is just one of the best films. I truly believe it. It's flawed, as I said in the review. It definitely is flawed, but it also is perfect in that imperfection, you know. So the big thing about Blade Runner obviously has to do with the end, the interpretations of whether or not Deckard is a replicant and a human, and that, you know, it's been a debate like that for many years. 2049, a lot of people would say. Still left it ambiguous. I thought about it for a long time about that ending, and it's fun to think about, you know, the ending. I mean, it's fun to engage in that conversation of like, is it this or is it that? But I think it's just more trivial, more playful in that, because how I really feel about it is that the ending, it being ambiguous, is only produced that way or seen that way by many because that's what the majority wishes to see in the ending, when really the ending is pretty straightforward. It's pretty obvious as to what is happening. It's just that many don't focus on details and don't wish to comprehend fully of what they're watching, so they just chuck it up to, oh, it's ambiguous, you know. That's when, you know, people don't have as much they don't process, you know, narratively fully what they're watching, because Blade Runner is not ambiguous. I mean, it's not, when you really put it in perspective. And I have 3 points that will dispel the whole ending, because people want to say it's ambiguous, but it's not. It's really not, and mainly to do with Deckard, because Deckard is a human. He is not a replicant. There's many evidence to suggest that, but 3 main things that come to mind for that. So let's just address the obvious about this is basically just an excuse to talk more Blade Runner, because I love Blade Runner. But the ending, I mean, I like the ending. That's the final cut as one I've seen. I have not seen the theatrical cut or the other cuts. I'm not sure if they're exactly the same with the origami. I know that one of them has that weird happy ending, which just weird, you know, like, especially in the context of the world of Blade Runner. It's like, I don't think that there needs to be a happy ending per se. So, you know, it's meant to be depressing, so to have a happy ending, it kind of goes against that whole world that's being established, you know. But anyways, let's talk about specifically the ending, because, you know, because people get it wrong, I think. So the first suggestion, it's in the fucking description of a replicant. It's in the identity of a replicant. Replicants can only live, based on the first movie, because we have to understand that to understand the whole Rick Deckard conversation, you have to go back to the first movie. So don't think about the rules of 2049. Don't think about what they said there. It's all about what the first film establishes. And the first film makes it very clear that replicants can only live up to 4 years. They have a 4-year lifespan. That's the fail-safe, just in case that they did get out of hand. They live only for 4 years. So that's the rule, right? So if that's the case, why the fuck is Rick Deckard around in 2049? That it's just, you know, don't say that he's a special model, because then they would have suggested that. They would have suggested that we're working on bigger and better models. They never said anything like that in the first Blade Runner movie. They never suggested that Rick Deckard's like this ultra powerful replicant, or that there are replicants that can live beyond a 4-year lifespan. They've never ever said that. So it's just that the replicants are 4 years. That was the rule. So when you go to 2049 and you see that Harrison Ford is still around, that is meant to tell you that he is a human. So that's the first thing, is that the detail of the first Blade Runner movie, the whole lifespan of a replicant, completely tells you of who Rick Deckard is actually supposed to be. So that's the first thing. Second thing, really there's 4 points actually that I'm going to bring up. The second one's just another suggestion. The book itself apparently is pretty definite on who Rick Deckard's identity is. And I know books to film, I don't really give a fuck about the books. Like, I don't care about how well a film adapts a source material book, what have you. Or those idiots who'll tell you, well, you gotta read the fucking book first before you watch the movie. It's like, no, a movie should be able to tell me what's going on. I don't need an encyclopedia before I go watch a movie. So that's just stupid. Let me just adjust the camera. There we go. But in the book, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, Rick Deckard is a human. They say in the book that he is a human. And which leads to my third point about Blade Runner in general when it comes to the source material, but also the film adaptation. Wouldn't it not be more meaningful if he was human? Wouldn't the idea of Blade Runner make more sense within the company of a human? Because the whole point of Blade Runner, the original movie, is about humanity. It's about identity. It's about what defines being human, you know? And to suggest that Deckard is a replicant would just deflate the value of what you're talking about, you know? It just deflates that. In 2049, they flip it. They then make it where it is a replicant. We're watching from that confine. But what 2049 does so well is that they take the same themes, but they show you a different idea, a different perspective to those ideas within a person who is a replicant, but then maybe thinks they are human, and then learns that they perhaps do possess a humane component, but it is not flesh. It is that of the heart, you know? That's why why Blade Runner and 2049 are different. It's because in the protagonists, they're different protagonists. We have one who's a human and we have one who's a replicant. And then the big one that I think Mark Bernardin, actually, from the Kevin Smith podcast, he actually brought it up, and it's very true. In 2049, the story of 2049, Rick Deckard and Rachel, they had a baby. It's a hybrid. Right then and there, it should tell you who Rick Deckard is. If Rachel is the replicant and the daughter is a hybrid between a human and a replicant, unless Rachel was like cheating, unless she was bouncing around and just sleeping with whoever, Rick is the human. Like, I mean, like, Blade Runner has never been an ambiguous ending. It's only been made an ambiguous ending by its audience, because audiences just could not, like, they were either just bored out of their fucking minds, so they just presumed that it's ambiguous, or they just didn't read all the details and then presumed that such a thing is meant to be interpretive, even though it's pretty obvious, you know. And don't listen to Ridley Scott. Don't listen to Ridley Scott when he talks about Blade Runner, or talk about any filmmaker who brings up an ambiguous ending, because you can tell when films are actually built around an ambiguous ending, they had that in mind, or when an audience is just plucking things onto it and the director's just saying, okay, you know, If it adds more value to the movie, aka if it gets your ass in the theater and I make money off of it, sure, that ending sounds plausible. Sure, that's totally not what I thought it was. I know there's a definite answer there, but if I make some money, sure. That's just how a lot of directors would operate if when such a thing happens, and such a thing probably happens a lot. Um, and then there's also a lot of times where directors do create ambiguous endings. Like you can very much tell by the distinction of how the narrative's being told, and just by information, you can tell when it's ambiguous. Blade Runner is not ambiguous. Blade Runner is a study of psychology. It's a study of a human who starts to have doubts, and then 2049 is the opposite to that. A replicant who starts to have doubts. Like the deconstruction of their own psychology, and then starting them having this idea, like that's what Blade Runner was always about. It was about a deconstruction of psychology, and also about how such things could be one and the same when you consider about emotions and feelings. That's what Blade Runner has always been about. And to say that Deckard's a replicant, it just would deflate the importance of that first movie and the story itself. So, and I think Harrison Ford even knows. He's like, yeah, he's fucking everyone in the production says he's a human except Ridley Scott, because he's the fucking director. Of course, he wants to sell his movie. So, yeah, of course, if it sells, just to say it's ambiguous, of course he's gonna say it's ambiguous, But it never was an ambiguous ending. It never was. The whole narrative of it being interpretive and all that, I think it stems mainly from the mentality of the audience. Basically, audiences just didn't listen to the fucking movie and just presume that it was ambiguous, even though the details are there, even though it's pretty obvious, even though by just design of story, like based on the aura of the film, that he's a fucking human. Like, you just know, just by delivery of theme, just by the understanding of the circumstance, the weight. Bless me. Like, mentally speaking, you're thinking that he is a human throughout, because that's what creates the weight. Bless me again. Is having that knowledge that he is human. If you knew that he was a replicant, if they actually told you straight up that he was a replicant, it would not really be as important. 2049 did that, but luckily they were able to find a way to where it still is meaningful, and still find another perspective to those same ideas, and gain weight through a different avenue. But for that first film, he is a human, and there's all this evidence to suggest it. And not just evidence, just facts. The book, the details, what happens in the sequel. Like, Denis Villeneuve knows he's a human as well. Like, they basically confirm it to you, but they don't want to say it out loud, because they don't want to dispel the mystery of the original movie, because that also deflates the potential profit that could be made off of such a thing. So I used to think it was interpretive just because I didn't read the fucking movie well enough, but now reading it well enough, many years, it's not. So, but that's my 2 cents on the Blade Runner ending. I used to think it was, but now getting older, rewatching it, I've always had that feeling. It's like, he is a human. And now old enough, it's like, well, of course, so. But you guys want to know your thoughts on the ending of Blade Runner. Do you guys think it's ambiguous? I fucking don't think so. But I think it was just created mainly from the audience, and then directors were just cool with that, But whatever makes money, basically. But you guys let me know. Do you guys think it's ambiguous? And what do you think the answer is? Do you think he is a replicant? Do you guys think he's a human? Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section below. And that's going to be it for me, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. And until then, I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.